Hi, everyone. I just want to say first off, I'm insanely jealous of what you guys have been working on this week. So I think this is really cool, and I hope that I can provide you guys with some information that maybe you could take back with you, and hopefully the slides will have plenty of additional information. So when you go back home and on Monday you go, what the heck did she say? There you go. You can pull it back up and find some resources there. So just a little bit about myself. So I grew up on the Eastern Shore. I'm from Virginia, so I went to school down in Northampton County, Virginia. Graduated from Northampton High School. From there, I went on to the Eastern Shore Community College in Melfa, Virginia. And at that time, I also obtained an internship co-op at NASA. And when I graduated with my technology degree at the community college, I had a permanent job with NASA. About 5 years later, I was given the opportunity to go back to school and pursue my engineering degree. I started off here at UMES, so I was here for 2.5 years, and eventually I transferred to Salisbury University and finished up and my major was physics with the microelectronics track. Right now, I'm the program manager for the NASA Robotics Alliance project at Wallops Flight Facility. So I provide robotics outreach on Delmarva, and I'm also the associate branch head for the electrical engineering branch at Wallops. So I'm going to share a little more with you about robotics, and there'll be plenty of time for questions. So let's see if I can navigate here and move on to the next slide. All right, so a little bit about the program here is the NASA Robotics Alliance project is dedicated to robotics outreach K through 12. And last year I kind of went outside the boundary and expanded that outreach to the university level at Salisbury University. Why, you might ask, besides the fact that it's close by, and I'm sure UMES is going to be fast on our tails here. Hint, hint. One of the big reasons was that we had some students who had graduated from Parkside High School, and they had been in robotics, Lego, all the way up through from elementary school all the way through high school, and they came back and said, "Can we please have robotics in college?" All right, twist my arm, why not? So this year was a great year for that, and I'll share a little bit more with you on the next slide. I have quite a few resources available to me, one of which is a big blue Dodge Dually pickup truck, a 20-foot trailer, and a trailer full of competition equipment. So on Delmarva, I support a couple of different robotics platforms. And especially for VEX Robotics, I provide competition equipment. So I have 6 competition playing fields, all the game pieces for the current year, all the equipment to set up for a major event, and that equipment is used locally for local competitions, scrimmages, and then also for our district championship, which winners head to the World Championship events. So it's pretty exciting. A lot of road time, and because it's K through 12, I'm typically competition season is right around grades 3 on up. So it can be pretty exciting. I participate in the NCAS program, which is a program that it's a 2-week program, 1-week program at NASA for students at the community college level, and they have a robotics project that they work on throughout the week. and a little competition as well to go through there. And they learn skills like program management, how to budget their funds, and they also get to hear from speakers, engineers on site. So it's a really cool program. I also do training, speak at events like this, and if I'm able to, I also do little road shows for community events just to show people what our teams can, or robotics participation can provide. So as I mentioned earlier, my support is on Delmarva, and a lot of it is VEX Robotics. So just to start off, you can see the numbers. I sponsor quite a few VEX teams. I truly believe to get our foot in the door, we need to start early on. So there's a big push on my end for engaging as many elementary school level classes as we can to get kids interested in STEM. And the Indian River School District, for example, this year in southern Delaware, we sent 6 elementary school teams to the World Championship this year. So did really good there. We had our new Salisbury University team went to the World Competition as well, and we had 2 teams from Parkside High School that went, and a couple of middle school teams out of Delaware that went as well. When I say provide sponsorship, as I'm able to, I purchase each year. The games change, so I purchase the game elements, and first come, first serve. That I purchase as many as I can and give those to the schools. The schools typically have their own kits, and as we'll see coming up, there's some fees and stuff that are covered, but a lot of times I provide those materials that'll help the classes get started maybe over the summer, or right at the beginning of the school year, where sometimes it can be difficult for schools to order materials right away when kids are coming in. So so yeah, you can see there's a whole bunch of support there. I'd like to give you a little bit of information on VEX Robotics. This is by far the biggest area of support that I provide on the shore, and for quite a few reasons. The kits, the parts, they're low cost. The kits are reusable. The competition materials are reusable. Really, the only investment every year is the new game pieces, which tend to be pretty inexpensive as well. So we're talking about $130 for an elementary school and middle school level class, and then at the high school level, it goes up to $500 for those game materials. So these events are, and the setups are really small. As you can see in the upper top hand corner, on the elementary and middle school levels, their fields are they're 6 feet by 8 feet, so they don't take up a whole lot of room. They put together really easy, and then they disassemble, and they're easy to store. So it's nice to have them in a couple of those in a school. Schools can share. On the high school level, the bottom picture, then you see those fields are 12 foot by 12 foot. If you have the space, some of the schools, they keep those fields up all year round, and it's great to demonstrate their robots. They typically work on them all year round as well. VEX starts and ends in April, or this year it was May. So it goes on continuously. So if you just wanted to do something over the summer, if you just wanted to do something throughout the school year, there's a lot of flexibility there. For international events, it's a great opportunity for students to see and meet people from all over the world. VEX Worlds had 40 plus countries attend. There's interpreters all over the event, so that students and adults, they can communicate with the teams back and forth, and it's a really neat experience for the kids. There's virtual challenges that the teams can do. So this program works really good if you can only work in a virtual environment, such as we experienced with COVID. And then they also have in-person events. So another thing that I really like about VEX Robotics is that you can say you're not ready for competition, you just want to keep it localized in your classroom. This is a great program for that. The VEX company itself allows you to view all the competition materials, and as I'll show in some of the other programs, you can't even purchase competition equipment unless you're a registered team. So you're going to have to lay out a couple $100s first, commit, and I don't know, I'm not one to easily commit, and I also work with a lot of schools where we just want to try it for a little while, or maybe you just want to do a 6-week program in your classroom, and this to me is a great way to do that. So I have some resources there. There's grants available. There's also scholarships. I believe there's $40 million worth of college scholarships and technology scholarships for students that participate. So it's a big win-win. Some of those colleges are close to us, so I think that's even better. FIRST Robotics is the other program that I support on the Eastern Shore, and one of the more popular platforms is the FIRST LEGO League. There's a very large community in the Salisbury area for LEGO. It is fairly inexpensive. However, for competition materials, you have to be a fully registered team in order to have access to those. So for those who like LEGO but maybe don't want to compete, then we try to get creative in how we can simulate competition and maybe make up our own so that you're not locked into an investment there. A new one is LEGO Explore, and that's for very young kids. And what they have is essentially a storyboard that they create and a LEGO design that they create, and then they talk to people that come in. It's more a localized school event, so you could have it in your school, you could tie it to a couple of schools, or you could just do it in your classroom and just have people, other teachers, other students come in so that you can explain your project. FIRST tends to lean towards projects that are about the environment. So there's what can you do to improve the environment, and every year there's a different theme for that. FIRST Tech Challenge, that's on a middle school and high school level. Parkside High School has worked with that competition for several years. The robots are 16-inch by 16-inch. It's kind of a little bit rules heavy if you compare it to VEX. So VEX is more focused on the build. FIRST Robotics is more focused on your partnership, community partners, running your team like a business. And so you're going to make outside connections. You're also going to have to raise funds or beg and borrow for money. So because their fees are a little more expensive, but then also you're going to need more tools. So Tech Challenge has their robots are kind of like erector sets, but then you'll also use additional machining tools to go along with that, and some 3D printed parts and such. They're allowed as well. So FIRST Robotics competition, we have 2 teams on Delmarva that NASA sponsors. This is the big time. These are 150-pound robots. These robots are typically built within a 6 to 8 week time frame. So at the beginning of January, a challenge is announced, and kids begin building as soon as possible those robots. And then they'll compete in the month of March in the Chesapeake district. So our area covers Virginia, Maryland, and DC. And so that forms the Chesapeake Regional. And their fees get them, earn them the opportunity to compete twice, to try to place in the regional event, and then hopefully to place further on for the World Championship. There are quite a few areas for awards in this, and the number one award has nothing to do with your robot. It has everything to do with your community outreach and partnership with engineering professionals. And you don't have to be an engineer to mentor a team. You can pull in people from all areas of life, but you are going to have people who know how to use heavy machinery. You may be able to send parts out for fabrication. So I will say that this is heavily mentor-centric. There is a lot of work. There's a big payoff for it. I'm not going to say there isn't, but it is a tremendous amount of work in a very short period of time. So what I've seen lately is, everybody's short on time. So VEX, as an alternative, is great because you provide a few instructions and materials to your students, and they work independently. They may come back and bounce ideas off of you. And as what I really like, some of the schools that I've seen how they run the projects for their high school students, they make them model everything in CAD before they actually build the robot to prove that it's going to work. Those CAD, the software, there's software that's available for free from industry to use for these events. And coming from the NASA side, when I look for students, for interns, it's a big seller to know that you have students in high school who can CAD, they're familiar with 3D printing, and they tend to stand out among just the average student who maybe hasn't been exposed to those things before. Those students also tend to do great working independently, and they're full of interesting ideas. So for me, I've had quite a few interns throughout the years, and we've had quite a few robotics interns at NASA as well, and it's always worked out very well. Just to show you, we have 2 teams on the Eastern Shore. Average cost for first robotics competition is, and this is on the cheap side, so locally it's roughly $20,000 a year. So we're talking a lot of fundraising. The grants that are available are typically to pay your registration fees, which range from $5,000 to $6,000, depending on if you're a new team or you're an established team. You do not have access to competition materials unless you're a registered team. So another thing to consider. And Team 1908, they're pictured there with little trailer. You're going to want to have a trailer as well to take all your tools with you to competition. So it's quite an investment. If you're going to work out of a school, you're going to have access to the school. You're going to work Saturdays. You're going to work very late nights during the week, and that's very short 8-week time frame. So not to undersell it, but it is something big to take on. So added some additional resources here. So one of which is the NASA Robotics Alliance page, and I wanted to point that out because not only does it have information on competition, but they also put out little challenges and stuff for schools to participate in, and it's a big community. So there's some information there on the First Chesapeake District. There's First Scholarship Opportunities. They have, First Robotics has an exceptional array of scholarships available, not just to colleges, but then also for technical learning certifications, that sort of thing. And then they also have a very large alumni community. So if you're an alum, then there are opportunities for you to meet industry partners and obtain internships that lead to jobs. There's quite a few in the DC area that actively recruit these students at the high school level and carry them through college and then convert them to permanent employees. So that's pretty neat in my opinion. The Robotics Education Competition Foundation, that's part of VEX. That's on the competition side, and so that's how you would register. In the slides, I've also provided links to the VEX webpage just so you can check out what the kits look like. This is a robot for First Tech Challenge. So just like the VEX high school level, their robots roughly fits within a 16-inch by 16-inch cube. So I know that's a lot of information and a big dump for all of you, but I figured it might be more beneficial if you did have any questions, if I could provide a little bit of time, if you had questions about how these things may be of use. I know one of the things to point out is if you're familiar with Lego, they do have just Lego itself has kits to build a robot, but then they also have instruments for you to work on in chemistry, I believe biology. There's a couple of different levels of sensors and stuff that students can use, and there's some curriculum that goes with that to help you figure out how to implement that in the classroom. On the VEX side of that, I will say that they have an exceptional curriculum, free. You could go in there right now and do a search and come up with all kinds of projects, summer camps. There's also a new addition. They have professional development. There is a fee. It's $900 a year, but you have access to hundreds of video presentations on how to implement these kits in the classroom, all the many things that you can do with them, and all the videos, they're not like long, they're like 2 to 3 minutes, just enough to get you started. They have a really good helpline to ask questions, and their software is free, so there's a lot of resources available to teachers. So I'm going to open it up to you guys if you have any questions at all. And was that a question or are you shooing the flies? I have. That's fine. Yes.
Are most of the teams around here club or in a class period?
So most of them are an after-school club, but like Parkside implements some of that in their engineering classroom.
Project Lead the Way.
Project Lead the Way is excellent with that, and also in Worcester County, the tech school there, they do skills competition, which uses the VEX platform. So some of them are after-school programs. We have homeschool groups that form as well. So there's kind of a variety, but definitely there's not a whole lot of it being used in the classroom unless someone decides they want to do like a couple weeks and a little build project, and I've worked with schools to do that. So
I know we have Project Lead the Way, and we use it in the SIM class and the POE class.
okay.
But we were lucky enough to switch over to the V5.
Yes,
So much better.
it is. I agree with you. It's a little pricey, but it is a very good system. I agree.
This might be more of a specific question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
I met you like 3 years ago when Parkside they had like it was like an app, it was like on a weekend.
Okay.
They were simulating everything. It was when I'm at Somerset County Technical High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so since then, we have like the lab set up, that's all robotics, we have the course. Last year, we did a summer camp, it was 7th and 8th graders. So this year, we have a really good group of students coming up at the high school level, so we're gonna actually have a competition team this year. My biggest roadblock so far has been like, what's the first step we need to take to get to I know like they say the first thing to do is just compete, just get a robot out there, and bring your students to competition just so they know, so what's the first thing to do for us to get out there and compete?
So I would say the best thing to do is there's teams in the area, so hook up with one of them. So I use Parkside a lot as an example.
That's the one that I was doing.
Yes. So
We had one of their students actually come over at one point.
if you get up with Dave and Jenny Miles, so they organize some scrimmages
Okay.
before the actual competition season. So you're going to have to compete in two local events.
Okay.
And you know, I say local, so it's typically Maryland and Delaware. So any two events, but then they also do scrimmages. There's typically one right in December, and they try to do one in November as well. But then there's a couple of other schools that do it. But I would definitely say the scrimmages have been great because a lot of, like most people, a lot of schools, you know, you get a late start, and then the holidays are starting to come up, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we're not going to have time for this. Best thing to do is just let the students build something and go to a scrimmage.
So you're saying right when school starts, get that team organized?
Yes.
So we've already started looking at the competition, and we wrote one of those are the grants through Maryland
Yes.
for the robotic stuff. So we were going to use that for travel, competition fees. So
That's terrific.
We have all the main stuff.
Yes.
It's just getting all the other stuff together. So you're saying go to that scrimmage, and so you have the
Yes.
scrimmages that I would reach out to like David for, but then the actual events, do you register on REC?
You do, and I believe you do the same for the scrimmages too. You can find scrimmages in the
You go
area.
in there and you search globally?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you just
Yes.
get the registered team. Is there a cutoff of when, like, we have to register by? 'Cause we're
Usually
waiting.
it's pretty close to the event, so maybe within 1 to 2 weeks.
So we have time to like wait
You
for
do.
this grant to register?
Absolutely.
Just get the students together?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yes.
think, yeah, we do have a good group of students here too, so. This is the third year of PLTW after school, so, and the COVID the past 2 years kind of chopped it up a
It
lot.
did. It
So
did.
we're trying to work around that, and also all of our like high achieving students are also sports players.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Yeah, that's not the, most of the schools have the same thing going on with that. What I found is a lot of times, surprisingly, the students just make time for it.
Yeah.
And if you have enough people, then you can swap them out. So maybe 2 of them can't make it this weekend because they have an event, you know, a sporting event, but they can make the next one. So you can kind of swap people out, and that helps as well. But yeah, go to that scrimmage, and they'll go, oh my gosh, I'm behind. And then they'll go, oh, but that robot's pretty cool. Look what they can do. And they'll come back and they'll rebuild, and they'll just,
That's what everything.
they really take off after that.
You just get them to a competition.
Yes. Yep, just do it. It'll be great. All right. Any other questions?
I want to say too, one thing, because Amy was very important in creating a VEX for our Delmarva region, by the way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I just want to point that out to you, Amy.
Well, thanks. It was a tough sell, but I figure, you know, we're Delmarva, and only small portions of Delaware competed. So, you know, it's great to go to the Worlds every single year, but it was good to shake things up. And once they were mixed in with a variety of teams, our level of competition on the shore increased, and the students really learned a lot more. So there was quite a big benefit to that. So yes.
You know, I mentioned earlier, one of the teams from our first Trails program in Indiana actually reminds me a lot like you in the fact that, you know, he was trying to start a VEX program at his school, and so he implemented the Trails lesson to help them learn how to do a basic build of the robots, built it into his class. And now I know his teams are very competitive. And part of that came out of this idea of, I want to do VEX anyway. We can implement some of the things we learned from trails in this, and let's build this lesson around it and partner with the science teacher as well. And kind of, it'll be a dual purpose. And so he's greatly benefited from that. So, well, thank you, Amy. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
coming to